All right. Welcome back to the logbook. Introspection time for week 6 of Project Viminacium. I guess intertwines well with search for natural happiness. We did a rehearsal take for Project so we did a practice the rehearsal take for Search for Natural Happiness. So, Search for Natural Happiness is a what's it called? Is my launch album, is my debut album, and its part plays a very big role in Project Viminacium. The first 2 songs of the album and an extension of for Project Viminacium, and we really delve into the pressure, or the story behind pressure and concussion. It's my directing debut as well for the film, so it's a big extension out from the album, the Search for Natural Happiness album, and it's almost like this is the album, and then it's an extension out from that album. And that's my vision for the project, is we're unpacking this this project of mine that I've been working on for years, Search for Natural Happiness, and it's an extension of that project into artistically pushing myself further than I've had to before. And really going into spaces that you are the most comfortable in, like the piano, the drums, the vocals, for example. So it's been some learning journey in itself, and with the project coming to its own sort of completion now as well. I wasn't planning on it, but I felt that it needed its own sort of set launch. And its own space to hold it's almost a love letter to the project, and I felt that creating a DJ performance for the project was my sort of send-off for the project, and a sort of signal to like, okay, let's then move into Project Viminacium. So it holds its own challenges, working on a very sort of ambitious, that's the word. The whole time through the rehearsal for Search for Natural Happiness, I was trying to remember the word. It's very ambitious DJ's performance. Playing for 3 hours, and creating the changes that I want in the set and stuff like that, incorporating different genres and stuff like that. I don't like the half-assed things. I want it to be as good as possible, because that's what I love. I've dedicated my whole life to this, and I guess that's sort of the good sort of segue into where I am mentally sort of this week. I feel that when you are on this sort of journey, this sort of path, you're by yourself a lot, unfortunately. Chasing the best version of yourself, I guess, or wanting to push yourself and create something that's the best expression of yourself. I tend to really, in the beginning, I was like, I want to become, the greatest. I want to be, it's got to be the best ever, and what I find is that when you think from that mindset, you're limiting yourself, because you're thinking again from another perspective. You're comparing yourself to someone else, right? And I could never be someone else. I can never be Prince, Michael Jackson, Elvis, etc. I can never do what Michael Jackson did, and the biggest reason is because I'm not Michael Jackson. I'm not Elvis Presley. And we can have impersonators, and they can do a good job of mimicking, but they're not Michael Jackson. Okay, and in a world where we were trying to sort of compete with, or trying to break records and establish the fact that or I am somehow better than Michael Jackson because I've sold more records is nonsense. You know, if you base artistry, if you base music from record sales, and you can have, you know, all your number ones and everything, but it's about the cultural movement that represented. You know, if we look at Michael Jordan, he's regarded as the greatest basketball player, not only because of X amount of records and all that. He's regarded that way because of the influence that he's had on basketball and the cultural phenomenon that he created from basketball. You know, it's easy for us to forget, you know, that he was basically like a rock star for basketball. You know, those stadiums packed just to watch Michael Jordan. And notice that with a lot of great athletes and and performers, that it's not only the amount of record sales and stuff like that. Sure, that plays a factor, and obviously when you're successful, obviously you're going to sell more records and you're going to be rewarded and receive awards, etc. Right? But the cultural movement that artist creates or that athlete creates is far greater than any sort of financial or materialistic success that they achieve. And that's what makes them regarded as one of the greats. So I think that, I think we're sort of mixed, got blurry in that sort of regard. And especially in music and stuff like that, financial sort of, the representation of financial success with artistry is very blurry. So we just need to be very careful about that. Again, you were comparing ourselves to another person when we need to be the best that we can be. And I think that really needs to be the shift in our focus, especially with AI and stuff like that. It's very easy for us to not reach our full potential. With AI and stuff taking over, if we rely too heavily on that, then what essentially is our skill set in music? What are we listening to then? If we have this big screen in front of us and we have this little person that's standing and it's like the DJ, and all we do is stare at the screen, or what's the point of having the DJ there, or if we're just staring at the screen? So it's a murky area now. It's becoming weird. I'm not sure where it's going, but I know that I don't really care where it's going, because I'm going to present the art the way I want to present it, and I want people that share in that same passion to join me in that process. And after just doing years and years and years, I don't care about becoming some sort of label of some sort. I decided that dedicate my life to this is its own calling. Jeff Bezos said this beautifully, that if you paraphrasing here, but it's the point where some people have a job, some people have a career, and some people have a calling. And if you're one of the fortunate few, and you have a bit of luck on your side, you're able to find a calling, and you want to take advantage of that. And I think that moving aside now from talking about, I think that that's really, really important. And it's about sharing my artistic calling and sharing with you what I have worked on for years and will continue to work on for the rest of my life. And for a lot of people, it's difficult to understand, and even with friends, when I talk with them about it, it's difficult for them to be on the same perspective as me. They're like, "Oh, who talks like that?" But I just don't want to be, in my older age and be like, "Oh, if I only gave it everything I had, if I only did this, if I only did that, if I only pushed myself then, or I didn't cross every tick and try and turn over every stone. I don't want that. Look, it's not an easy life. I think that we get too wrapped up in these labels. And Marlon Brando put that well. When they asked him, a reporter asked him, are you the greatest? And it's like, again, this Western point of view of labeling everything. It's just, I present the role, I present my artistry, I present my character. The way that people perceive that, that's out of my control. Calling yourself something isn't gonna help. And I think that it limits you. If I really do, I feel that if you constantly put yourself in that frame of mind, you're not gonna be as hungry, you're not gonna be as motivated, not gonna be willing to push yourself, because you're constantly comparing yourself to someone else. And what you need to do is compare yourself to yourself and be like, okay, what do I need to improve in mine? And that's very difficult. Very, very difficult to do, because you have a lot of inner resistance and fears and all this other crap that comes to the surface. And I feel that I'm dealing with a lot of that, particularly into this week, especially when I was recording the search for natural happiness, the rehearsal takes. Now that you're doing the piano, you're really sort of getting into some very weird space, because you're accessing an area where it's very vulnerable, and you're putting it out there, and it might not be ready just yet or something like that, and you're constantly spinning in your head, when it's going to be ready, when it's going to constantly go in a circle. And now that I've sort of reached that point where I feel confident that it's time to get it out there, it's very difficult to hold on to, because you spent so many years working, and every time I've tried to sort of put it out there, it's been like, oh, it's not ready yet, let's put it back. And it's been like, okay, let's do it, and oh, no, it's not ready yet, let's do it again, let's keep going, it's not ready yet, keep practicing. And after years and years and years and years and years of this, you have to sacrifice a lot. You lose a lot of friends, people start thinking you're crazy. You start making very little sense to everyone else around you, because you're not going down that social norm, what society expects from you. You're going down a path that very, very few people go down, and it's something that you have to accept. It's a very lonely road, the one that I'm on, and I know that it's only going to get more and more, work ahead of this. There's only more and more work ahead of me. It's not like it's going to get easier, it's only going to get harder. So you have to just come to terms with that. And it's difficult when you constantly have setbacks, you constantly have difficulties, and you constantly have things you're fighting with, especially if the environment you're in isn't 100%, smooth. If there's dogs barking and birds and pigeons and constantly, especially if you're working on something, particularly in music, and my ears are so sensitive, right? You're working on a piece, or on the drums. I guess what people are understanding, when I go out and I have earplugs in, like, oh, why are you wearing earplugs? It's because for the past 8-10 hours, all I've been doing is listening to music, and you're sort of listening. Okay, how is this playing? How is this going? How do you need to progress forward? What else do you need to do? And you're constantly in that frame of mind, and your brain switches over. And when I listen to music, it's where's the kick, where's the snare, where's the hi-hats, and you break it down. And I guess you can't just listen to music anymore like you used to. You hear things differently in the music. It's very much like whatever job you're in, and if you've reached a level of professionalism and understanding in that job, a certain level of confidence in that job. For example, IT. when you try explaining that to someone, that's not an IT, worlds apart, right? Because you see that from a very different perspective, and you think that like, oh, everyone understands what I'm talking about. It's like, no, not everyone understands, because it's a completely different field, and you might be very competent in that field, but it's different. It's a completely different area. So I think that's something I've had to struggle with over the years, and now that I am starting to lose a bit of patience, you're sacrificing continuously a lot. I wasn't feeling well the other day, and I wasn't feeling confident driving an hour in some way place to meet up with some friends for dinner. So you have to, those things start hurting afterwards. You have to make a lot of sacrifices. You're constantly in your room working on this, working on that, recording this, recording that, and pushing yourself, trying to find that inch to push yourself forward. You get up the next day, push forward, push forward, push forward. So it's a very unusual space to be in, and you're motivating yourself and you're pushing yourself forward, but it's difficult then to have a base of relating to someone else, because for most, you have a particular job that funds what you're doing, and then you become quite competent in that, and you might have some trainings here and there, but it's very much that particular type of work, working on different tasks and stuff like that, and then next day work on different tasks. But in this case, you're, especially because we're in so much rehearsals, we're pushing ourselves to get better and better. We're not just working on tasks, we're working on the piano, trying to get better, and you're pushing through those mental sort of fears and nonsense and bullshit and anxieties and all that crap that resists you from getting to that next level. And then when you start hearing dogs barking and this person, and it's a very noisy world, a lot of people moving and doing this and doing that, then it can get a bit crazy. And then all you want to do is just, let me just get this done. So it can get a bit, and it affects your rehearsals, it affects your recordings. But you have to find a way to sort of deal with that. I guess what motivates me is that it won't be forever, that hopefully I'll be in a position finally where I can, rent out a good studio space or house or somewhere that's a lot further out from like a farm or something like that. So so I can have that moment of peace and just be able to 100% focus. So I guess that mentally it's starting to affect me. And when you're trying to sort of really prioritize sleep and get sleep, when you don't, if you have like a barking dog or something, like that barks like 2 hours at 3 a.m. or something like that, those stuff really affect you, because then you still have to get up and put the work in. You can't take the weekend off. You can take maybe 1 week, one day off, and then you got to record these practice takes. You got to upload things. You got to practice this. You got to practice that, because I know that if I don't do it now, it's going to push it further out. And then you have rehearsals that you're preparing for. You got an invoice you got to pay. You got to do this. You got to do that. So it's not the most glamorous of lives. I think that when people look at the CEO, or I'm gonna run my own business, I think it's like a glorification of it, and it's like, oh yeah, I run my own business, or I'm the CEO, okay, and it's really just not about that. It's a lot of work. It's very long hours, very, very big sacrifices. You're by yourself a lot. It's very individualistic for this type of work. And you have to find a way to deal with it, loneliness or whatever. So it's a huge, huge sacrifice. And I wouldn't recommend it for a lot of people. It's one thing to make music, commercial music, something like that, and perform, and you'll make good money, right? I know that. So I'm sacrificing a lot going down this path. I could very much just make commercial music and get a female singer, make some big bass song, or with a blend of European fusion, or make some typical dance song and it'll become very popular and all that, and travel the world and all that. And I get that, right? So I'm sacrificing a lot here because I don't want that necessarily. I want to have an authentic presence in the electronic space, and I want to present the best version of myself, and I feel that we're very, very close. We're very, very close. But now it's just getting that home stretch, and I feel like all these external things are a bit sort of a challenge. How bad do you want it? And I think that the universe, whatever, is throwing all these challenges at me to see how bad do you want it, and finding a way to sort of get through them. But I feel that we're very, very close. It's just about finding a way to motivate yourself and push through. And I find that doing these practice takes per week and seeing the progression and pushing forward always shows you how much work I'm putting into this, and that I really care about this. I really, it's a love, it's a calling, it's I feel what I've been born to do, and that might make not much sense to a lot of people, and that's okay. I mean, I don't judge anyone else for doing what they're doing, and it's very difficult to understand. But if there's one thing I want to do, is I want to present the work that I have worked all these years for, and whatever success I achieve, and I can't force the success upon me. Whatever level I achieve, I achieve. But one thing I want to make sure I do is I do it with me being myself and me being authentic and presenting the work that I want to share. And that might take a little bit longer. There might be a lot of challenges to present that. Like, for example, the pianos, or when you're working on the vocals or stuff like that. Some things take a lot longer than you were expecting, but at least I'm presenting an authentic self in those recordings and showing you where I'm at currently. And I hope that when Search for Natural Happiness finishes and we present the show and we present Project Viminacium, and my vision is to create a world tour for Project Viminacium and present the show in its completion and the film project and everything. And I hope at the end of that, I guess the ones that are closest to me will understand the sacrifices made sense, and why I've become a bit crazy and a bit sort of wrapped in my own world. I guess that's the biggest sort of thing you have to sort of deal with, is the toll it takes on the people you love and the ones closest to you, because the difficulties that you face, it's difficult for them not to see you in that space. And I guess if I knew how much it would affect them, I maybe even wouldn't have gone down this route. But we're so close to the finishing line of getting this vision that I've had for all these years, and debuting the album and getting this project out, that you almost have to find a way to distance yourself a little bit from all that, and not show how you're feeling and emotions when it's difficult. But it's very difficult because they know you very, very well, so but I think I just hope that in the years time, in a few years time, when this project is wrapped up and we've done what we've set out to do, that I can sit back down and really have the resources to find a space and be in a space where I can get away a little bit, so it doesn't affect the ones I love as much. And because you really have to go to a space that very few people are willing to go in, and you you have to push yourself to a space that very few people have gone. There's a reason why there's only a handful of artists that really make a great impact, and the amount of artists that reach that sort of label of greatness or whatever is even less. But whatever label society and stuff decides to put on me in years to come, what my focus is to be the best that I can be, and I want that from this project. I don't want to cut corners now that I'm so close, even though it's so difficult. I want to make sure I present the best possible and stick to my guts. And even though piano or something like that, or the drums or the guitars or the vocals gets a bit much sometimes, I'm pushing forward, and I'm going to present the most authentic space I can for myself. And hopefully in a few years I can find a way to do it where I don't feel as constricted, and I don't feel as trapped as I do right now. I feel a bit, I feel like it's just a lot of work. It's a lot. And these are sort of turning into almost therapy sessions. But look, on the positive side of things, I'm very happy with how the vocals have progressed, and me being able to now be more relaxed about them. The piano still needs a lot of work. I don't know why it's resisting it so much. I feel like I'm constantly hitting like a brick wall with it. The drums, I feel like I practice, and then the next day I get that little bit better. And then with the vocals as well, I practice, and the next day a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. With the piano, it's like practice, a little bit worse, a little bit worse, a little bit worse, a little bit worse. And it's like, what the fuck, But I think that it's going to be a process of completing everything else, and the piano is going to be last. I think that's what it's going to be. I'm going to leave that to the very last thing I do, and hopefully by then it's going to be where it needs to be. But it's a very humbling experience, and it's changed the person I've become, my personality, and it's almost that analogy of when you go to the gym. 20 kilos, 30 kilos, it's still gonna be 30 kilos. So no matter how cocky or how, whatever you come into the gym, it's still gonna be 30 kilos, and I feel that's the way the piano is. And it's like, you're gonna practice this for 3 hours, then you're gonna wake up the next day and you're gonna be worse at it than you were the day before. And then you're gonna have to find a way to motivate yourself to push through that. No matter any external stuff that's happening. And you're gonna wake up the next day, and the next day. And people are gonna think you're absolutely shit bonkers crazy. But I guess the ones that succeed are, the craziest ones. I guess the ones that are willing to dream and have a vision are the ones that are the craziest of the bunch in this world. So, I don't know. Alright, so there we go. Week 6, introspection. It's a wrap, but some food for thought there. Some food for thought. Anyway, I am gonna take a bit of a break because I've just been recording for the past 3 hours now. But thanks for joining me. Thanks for just listening and hearing my sort of rambles. Let's step into week 7. At least I hope it's week 7. I've lost track of which week it is. When I upload, I look at which week was before. I'm like, okay, cool. Yep, that's the one. That's the one.